Hey there. I want to tell you something that we don't say enough here at the podcast. We launched in 2013. My son Judah was 15 months old. I was nursing a toddler, had another toddler, had other kids on the road, and we were getting up in the middle of the night doing all sorts of things. But that's only a brand that an exhausted parent can experience and relate to. But we still hit the road anyway. Here's the thing I want you to understand today as you come into this podcast with us today. My guest is going to be here, and she's going to tell you all about littles. And I'll say it's easier with littles. And having been a mom now with teenagers and adult children, I really feel like that's true for me because they don't know what they left behind. They're just in it for the good stuff. You know, they don't have any issues. You know, they don't care if you're changing their diaper on the side of a highway. They just know what's in front of them, right? Was I tired? Was it complicated? Yeah, a lot of the time. Did it feel like a lot? Yes. But if you're sitting right there now thinking the littles are the reason you can't do this, I want you to meet Missy and see where she's at and where she's come from. So welcome, Missy, to the show. Missy is from Jack Adventures Await, and you can find her on Instagram, and we'll get to that at the very end. But I just want to welcome you to start with.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Missy reached out to me after a post that I put up about finding friends on the road. And I think that's a complicated thing. And I know we're going to get into that during our talk here today. So you guys have been full-time now for what, 3 years?
Almost 3 years.
Let's talk about how you got into it. What made you take that leap?
I always feel like there's a lot of factors, but we were living in Houston, Texas, and we just had our second son. So he was very young, I think around 5 months old. The grind was real between me going to work. I worked as an athletic trainer. And if you know what an athletic trainer is, your hours are not your own. When the football coach says they want you there and you're there until the game is done. And I felt like I was missing out on my two boys' life. And my husband was running his own digital marketing company. And we felt like we were missing each other. It was like, when do we have time to be present? And we've always loved traveling. Before we had kids, we traveled a lot. And then we had kids and it was like, it seemed more complicated. And we were like, you know what? What if we just bought an RV and we left? And literally in 6 weeks, we sold our house. We sold most of our belongings. We just bought an RV and we left. People thought we were absolutely crazy, but it was for sure one of the best life choices that we've made so far.
That's fantastic. So I always think that we did it fast at 90 days, but you did it in half that time.
Yeah. I remember we called my mom. It was like August 21st. And we were like, hey, by the way, we bought an RV. And they were like, what? And we were like, yeah, we were deciding we're going to sell our house. And we left October 1st.
Yeah, that's a fast transition for sure. So what kind of RV do you have?
So we have a 40-foot fifth wheel. It is an Eddie Bauer, so you don't see many of those. The master is in the front, and then we have a bunkhouse in the back.
Oh, that's very cool. And you have 2 kids, correct?
I have 3 now. We had another baby on the road. Started our
that's a whole other layer.
Yeah, we had our second. He was 7 months when we started, and then we had a baby on the road last year when we were in Pennsylvania.
So you didn't even do it back in Houston where you were starting from. Okay. So was there a single moment in that or just a conversation?
I think it was, when you have young kids, you're exhausted. There's a big difference in exhaustion with one kid. And then when you add a second kid and you're also both working full time, which many people make that work, it felt difficult for us. We didn't feel like we were ourselves. We weren't doing the things we enjoyed. Like we liked kayaking and we liked hiking and we weren't being able to do the things that we wanted to do while also still providing for our family. That alone was just the conversation that it took to be like, hey, we need to do something different. What could we do?
Nobody was doing what we're doing right now in 2013. I didn't get to go to YouTube and watch anybody and decide based on that. And so were there any influencers that like you watched that kind of triggered that? Or was that something that you guys organically came up with and now are becoming those influencers?
When we first started talking about it, we were like, do we just like move? Like, do we just go to a different area? But then it was like, we don't know anything about those areas that we're just like randomly choosing. Like, oh, maybe we go live in Tennessee or like maybe we go live in Missouri, but like we've never been there. Oh, it'd be really fun if we could experience these places before we just decide to move. And a few of our family members already had RVs and were doing like RV trips for the summer. We were like, well, we could just make a lifestyle out of this. And of course, yes, we went to social media and we looked up on YouTube how people are doing it, some on Instagram. And there's definitely some some OGs down there that we looked at, and then we're like, you know what? Let's just go for it and try it. And yeah, the first 6 months were hard, but after that, I was like, I don't know that we can stop now. Like, I'm like, I want to live everywhere, not one place.
Well, I actually tell people it's a lot like trying on too many wedding dresses. The more places you go, the more things you fall in love with. It's easy to not do it all at every location, and then you can go back and do it again. That's how I'm still doing this 13 years later. It is doable for long term, but a lot of people come out, like you said, looking for a place to land. I don't know that we did that. I actually didn't hate where we lived when we launched. My husband had retired from the Marine Corps. He was 39. Everybody was like, oh, it's a midlife crisis. It was way more than a midlife crisis. We're still out here being crazy as ever, and we have chased balloons. Our kids have gone to things like balloon camp, but our littles, don't know anything but this life, because Judah was 15 months old and Aaron was just about 3 when we hit the road. My youngest two don't remember life in a house, not in an RV. So a baby on the road. Now we kind of did that. I did do that. My daughter came home at 22 and she ended up pregnant. And so we said, come home, we'll figure it out. That's what families do. And so my granddaughter was born. We actually landed in Conroe, Texas that summer so she could have a baby. My granddaughter and her traveled with us for almost 2.5 years. And so that was a whole nother level for me, but I wasn't the mom. My daughter was still taking care of the baby. And so what did that look like on the road for you?
It's so hard. In the beginning, it felt very overwhelming, even though we kind of started with a baby, but 7 months to a newborn is just very different. And it felt overwhelming. But then, we sat back and we're like, they don't really need that much. Like, it's really easy to get consumed with everything that a baby might need and like the space. Like, everyone always talks about, like, how are you going to have a baby in an RV? And I'm like, just like I would in a house. They're going to be on me half of the time anyway. It was a little difficult. I would say the main aspect that was difficult was having a baby where we had 2 other kids who also needed help. Who was going to watch the kids when we were at the hospital? And luckily, my mother-in-law was very gracious and flew up and ended up staying in a hotel near our RV to watch the other 2. And so we were very fortunate. That's like one of the things I was like, okay, how is this going to work? But then, just finding our rhythm. There are a lot of products out there on Amazon that work really well for an RV. Finding a fold-up bassinet and a collapsible bathtub. I found a crib that folds up. There's all these little things where you're like, I just have no clue how this could happen. Like changing table. I'm like, oh, well, that's what the floor is for. And so it was a transition, but it was completely possible.
Yeah, our favorite hack was actually a kiddie pool in the bathtub. And so that really worked well for us when Annalisa was little. The one thing we did purchase was a washing machine because my daughter decided that she wanted to cloth diaper. Now, I had breastfed my kids. I had baby worn my kids. I had never cloth diapered out of 7 children. So that was a whole nother level that we got to experience. But it was easy enough. And so we even did that in RV. So it's doable. You just have to think a little bit outside the box. We ran a load of wash every day. It was just that simple. All right. So let's walk through a day in your life. Like, what does that look like for you today?
We take mornings pretty slow. My boys are actually really, besides the baby right now, my boys are actually decent sleepers. They wake up and they start playing and we go slowly. We're a big breakfast family. So we always make a really big breakfast, like eggs, bacon, toast, fruit. That's like their thing. They like to sit and watch a cartoon in the morning. Automatically, they want to get dressed and they want to go outside. They love being outside. They love playing wherever we are. Sometimes our yard is small. Sometimes our yard is really big. For instance, today, where our RV is parked, we have a small little pond right outside our front door. And the boys ran out there and were like, Mom, there's a snapping turtle. There's a snapping turtle. And they were super excited. And I think for about an hour and a half, they've been sitting outside just watching this snapping turtle swim around in the pond.
Oh, that's so fun though.
Everyone always thinks it's a complete vacation, which sometimes we take, time to make it be like a vacation. But, my husband and I still work. So we got some like freelancing and marketing work done. We went for a walk earlier, eat lunch. My oldest will be 5 this summer. He'll be going into kindergarten, but we've been working on preschool to get him used to sitting down and like focusing on activities. And then usually when the workday is done, like today, we're going to go like hike. There's a hike near us that's about 15-20 minutes away. And we're going to go do like a 2-mile hike. And most days look like that, unless it's raining. Raining is a completely different thing.
Well, that's a whole nother level in an RV. Hopefully you have a clubhouse nearby. And if you don't, there are days you're going to just resort to an iPad. So it's
Yeah.
just that simple. And that's okay, because you do that in the house too.
Yes.
And I think you need to give yourself permission for that. So I think it's okay to be those things. This is one we were asked all the time when we had littles. Now we had teenagers with us, so this wasn't as big a problem for me. But how do you have a date night in your RV?
I think everyone's perception of what a date night looks like is different. So I know some couples who are really like, date night is when just me and my husband get to be alone. I know some people do where they put their little kids, down and then they step outside the RV and have dinner together. Or some people do blow up hot tubs I've seen. I'm like, ooh, I want one of those. But, my husband and I have looked at it that we actually enjoy being around our children. And so we do dates all together. Our boys love sushi. So we'll be like, you know what? We're going to all dress up tonight, fancy Friday, and we're going to go out and have sushi together. And the boys enjoy the experience. And a lot of people ask well, how do you guys stay connected? We stay connected because we also both enjoy being present with our children. And we also recognize that they're not going to be 4, 3, and 10 months old. Every day they get a little older and it's crazy. I look back at photos. I'm like, what happened to my baby? So we just look at it that we're doing it as a family and get to spend time together versus us just making sure we get time away from our children.
That's totally how we were. New moms, I always tell them, don't blink. That first year happens so fast because they change so much just in that first year alone that, I always felt like, don't blink. You've got that first year of life for each one of them. Now, I was crazy enough to do that 7 times, but but at the same time, you don't get those years or days or moments back. To be present for each one of those is so very important. And I think so many people get the Instagram picture of, oh, they're 6 months old, but no, you're actually participating in that on a regular basis. Those memories are just locked to your core. And I love that for you guys. Let's pop into road schooling a little bit. You're not knee deep in that. Littles is different. Play is often learning. I think a little differently outside the box on that one too after 7 kids. Boys, we have a lot of boys. 5 out of 7 of our kids are boys. And so some of my kids learned to write standing up because they would not sit. Do what works for your family. What does education look like for you guys today?
A lot of our education is outside. Yes, we do some workbooks inside. My 4-year-old, almost 5, is learning to write, so tracing numbers. But it's like us being outside being like, look, this is a ladybug. What does ladybug start with? Then putting together as they learn their alphabet, or, what color are these flowers and what do they smell like? And the biggest thing that my boys actually love to do is foraging. My 4-year-old's like, I'm going to find all the wild onions that I can find. And he's like picking things up out of the grass and like smelling them to see if they smell like onions, and recognizing berries and what are poisonous berries versus berries that we can eat. That is really our core of learning right now with our littles, is like seeing and recognizing what's around them and putting those textures, those context all together.
Yeah, no, that's totally learning on the road. All right, so let's shift a little bit because friendship on the road is a whole new level when you're a mom with toddlers. It can be a little bit of both. Would you say you're an introvert, an extrovert, an ambivert, or somewhere in between those?
I would say an extrovert.
Me too. So finding people is usually not a problem for me. And you reached out after a post that I put on making friends on the road. So I loved kind of talking through what that looks like for families. Having the fact that you've been on the road for almost 3 years, you've met some families by now, I would expect. Mm-hmm. What would you say is like the least talked about challenge, though, that you face with that?
I think, in the beginning of our travels, the challenge wasn't really present. But now that we're in year 3, the hardest is saying goodbye. Because, in the beginning, my kids were so like, we're moving, we're meeting more people. But now they're like, well, I liked so-and-so, like, why are we leaving them? And that's probably the biggest challenge, is for them to realize like, oh, we have these friends, but now we're leaving. Even if we're like, you know what, but we're going to plan to see them again in 6 months or whatnot. Right now, that's probably, especially my 2 oldest are very extroverts as well. I mean, they're the kids that are like peeking out the window when the RV pulls in next door to see if they have kids. As soon as they meet somebody, they're attached and they want to play and they want to be friends. And the challenge has been leaving.
So have you traveled with any other families for an extended period of time?
We haven't like traveled along a route with anybody, but we have, made plans to meet up. So we've met up with a few families for like a month in one location so that we're near each other. That was was a goal of mine coming up here, was to be able to find somebody that we could like travel 6 months with, that would want to do a route together that we all were interested in. But that hasn't just come to fruition yet, but definitely the meetups has.
Well, and I think it takes time. So it wasn't until several years in that we found families that we could do that with. So what we ended up doing was we went from in March of 2019 through almost July of 2019, we traveled with 5 families. And what we did was we'd spend 2 weeks together, a week or two apart, 2 weeks together, a week or two apart. And we carried that pattern for some time. That gave us the family time that we needed as a family, but it also brought us back together for a couple weeks. It was almost like having a rally in your backyard every couple weeks, and then you got to recover from it. So it worked out really well for us. We did pick one family to travel more with, and that just was because our travel plans aligned better. It takes time. I tell people it's like dating, because you don't want to get halfway through that 6-month period and find out you're not a good fit either. And so that gets messy quick. I do think it's easier in some ways to make friends with littles, because it was easier to go to the playground and meet people at a campground, but then they weren't always travelers. How do you handle that?
That's definitely true. I feel like when you're at an RV park, there is a wealth of what individuals are who are there, right? Like sometimes you have weekenders who are just there. We're coming into summer, so people are just taking summer vacations. You have full-time RV families who are actually traveling more often, but then, RV families who are more stationary. You have a lot of workers like welders and pipeline, nuclear power plant families that come and stay in an area for 6 months or something and leave. And all of those people have different personalities. It's always funny. You get to the playground and that's always like one of the first questions that comes up. So how long are you here? Are you a full-time RV family? Like everyone's waiting to see if it's like a weekend, a week, like a month, trying to, it's speed dating, like you were saying, right? It's speed dating. Like, oh, can we get along? Can we see each other often? Like, where do we fit in this equation?
Well,
And
will you still be here next year and I'll be nomadic on the other side of the country? Like that's always a question too, because then they're not willing to invest in that friendship. You can see people withdraw that say, oh, I'm full-time here year round. And then you're like, well, I'm nomadic. And they'll be like, but when will you be back?
Yes.
I don't know. So I think that creates that almost challenge. What about like friendships on the road? Do you think they're different than the friendships you had before, like in a sticks and bricks?
I think they are. When we left our house, I had a couple close-knit friends, some that, just are from childhood that I was still close with, some from the area that we were living in. And now traveling, I probably talk to my RV, I would call mom friends, more than I talk to my parents. Some of it is because we live the same lifestyle, so we also have the same challenges. My RV is flooded today, or like my pipes are leaking, or the air is not working. But we also then have in common, like, well, we're headed to North Dakota or something. Like, have you guys been there? What is there to see? What RV parks did you like? It's interesting. I feel like when we were in a house, it's really easy to dismiss, oh, well, I'll just catch up with them tomorrow. They're just down the street. Where with your RV friends, you're like, I'm going to take every advantage that I can if we're near you, because I want to soak up that time to be with you. And then that friendship then just like also blossoms, so that when you're even not near them, you're like, this person has become my best friend, but maybe I didn't even meet them in real life yet.
Actually, I had a good friend of mine. Well, it's hard to say that. So our kids grew up together in all the same circles, and our daughters are both 19 now. And she reached out to me the other day and she sent me a huge message about how the episode on friendship had touched her. And it was just so sweet to me. We had sat down this winter. The kids had gone to karaoke and we took them to Disney Springs to do that. And I sat down with her and her husband. It was such a nice reconnection time for us, because as parents with teens, it's different. The teens don't want you at the same campfire. So, we have to be more intentional about it. We're sitting there talking and we're like, we'll get back together this winter. And then her dad gotten sick and she had to go home and life happened, right? And so she said, it feels so nice, because it feels like you're in my living room and it feels like we're reconnecting like old times. But as a podcaster, that's how I want you to feel about our conversations on the road. Whether it's me, whether it's you, that was the whole heart of Learn to RV. And in a nutshell was, I think that so many people just don't get connected. And I wanted that place to feel special. If there's a family sitting at home right now who worries that this lifestyle means they have to give up all their friendships, what would you say to them?
I feel like it's not giving it up. It's just expanding it. So last year was the first year that I saw all 7 of my bridesmaids in 1 year. That hasn't happened since I got married 7 years ago. This lifestyle has actually allowed me to know that, hey, I'm going to drive here and spend a month with this friend, and I'm going to drive here and spend with this friend. And I didn't have that flexibility being in a sticks and bricks. And this lifestyle has allowed me to expand my relationships by seeing people more often because we are mobile. But then at the same time, it has also expanded my width of who my friends are with this RV community, because until you're in it, you don't know it. But the RV community is massive. On Instagram, I have a little chat with a lot of other RV moms. There's like 60 of us in this chat.
Oh, that's awesome.
We go back and forth with questions or comments or, hey, even posts like, hey, I posted something, like, check it out. And I wouldn't have had that if I was back in Houston. And this life has opened up a lot of that.
Yeah, it opens doors in ways you never expect it to, and it's awesome that you're out there putting yourself out there on Instagram. My kids in our first year didn't want to be publicized. We actually launched as Narrow Road Schoolers, and that still exists. When I bought Learn to RV last year, we decided to just breathe new life in it, and the kids can choose what they participate in that way. And as older kids, we want to respect that. It's one of those things that you just don't realize what that looks like until you're in it, knee deep, waist deep, shoulder deep. So it's just a beautiful, messy, wonderful lifestyle. And so it sounds like you're embracing it. It's cheaper to live on the road, right? Everybody thinks it's cheaper to live on the road.
I mean, it depends how you RV, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to talk about money a little bit just because I think there's a myth floating around there that everybody thinks it's cheaper to live on the road. I know my rig is not the newest, but we paid cash for it and we have a brand new truck sitting outside. That was not a cheap truck. It's a dually. It can be cheaper if you're stationary and you're very frugal. But as a traveling RV family, I really think there's a financial reality of this lifestyle that a lot of us don't talk about in real ways. A lot of people are going to want to know, how do you afford it?
Probably the second question you get, right, when you pull in an RV. It's like, well, how do you pay for this? Everyone thinks, are you trust fund babies? It's like, no, we actually still do work. My husband runs a digital marketing company, and that's all remote. He still has multiple clients, and he does websites, Google Ads, SEO, Google Business Optimization, anything that falls under the digital marketing world. He loves to do photograph and videos, and that's also kind of goes into the social media aspect. We still work on the road. We still pick up clients, not like we're just pulling from our savings, but it's still also the same challenges anybody else has, right in this economy. It's like no one can make enough money.
Right.
But it's interesting. I try to budget and break down every month expenses, and some months I'm like, we spent more than what we did living in Houston. And then there's other months where I'm like, oh, pat on the back, we saved so much money. But it's a toss up. It depends how you want to RV. For us, like our business, right? Some months it's like, wow, we picked up so many clients. And then there's other months where I'm like, okay, we need to keep working at something or, reach out to more. And flexibility is a huge thing in the RV world.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about it. I think that it's different for every family. Like when the kids were little, I wasn't as worried about things like it was cheaper to go to a museum because I wasn't getting charged adult prices every time I walked in the door. So I think we did things differently back then. A family pass could save us tons of money. Going out to eat, the kids would get kids meals or whatever. Usually mine did not because mine liked to go for sushi too. But, there's families out there that want to do this, but then they look at the price aspect of it and think they can't afford it. I tell people, go out with a job, go out with a plan on a regular basis. So in 2013, fuel prices were through the roof. They're like they are today. So in California, when we first launched within our first month, we were paying over $7 a gallon for regular fuel. It was nuts. Everybody was like, just get off the road, go back home, whatever. But like the naysayers are out there. I also know that we went out with a decent size savings and we knew how long we could last if we had to land somewhere and we had a backup plan. But I think so many families do this with that Instagram capture thinking, well, they can do it. So can I. What would your advice to them be?
I definitely think that you should do your research heavily. Also just reach out to people. A lot of people in the RV community are completely open to answering questions, giving advice. At least I am. I'm super open when it comes to campgrounds, right? Like, well, if you're wanting to save money, like you might need to look in some memberships, like, right? You got Thousand Trails, Passport America, Good Sam that can all help you get cheaper living, or maybe talk about before RVing. I don't know that I would have realized that a lot of RV parks do different rates between like nightly and weekly and monthly. Knowing how you want to travel, you need to do your research. I'm definitely more of like a run for the stars. Things will always work out. But at the same time, you do need to be flexible. You need to have done your research to know what's possible. There is so many options, like with work camping nowadays, more jobs are remote. If I had to narrow it down, research and flexibility.
Absolutely. And there's no shame in landing a work camping job. We've done that several times. In fact, we did it in 2022 running RV Roofing Solutions, which is our business. At the same time, the kids wanted to work somewhere. So I had some very specific rules on where they could work. I wanted to go back to Yellowstone for the summer. I said, so I'll make some phone calls. And the campground that hired us was one of the original KOAs in the system. I got on the phone with the owner of the company. Steve was like, I'll hire all 3 of your kids. Your daughter's 15. She's legal here in Montana, but I want you for the front desk. And I was like, great. But it would turn into one of my best summers. Frank took on all the cooking and cleaning and managed most of the business side of things from the days that I worked. I worked in the office from 9 a.m. to noon and then back again from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Let me tell you, the first week I thought that was the rawest deal ever, by the way. But what I realized about a week and a half later is I could make all my phone calls between 12 and 4. My husband was doing all the cooking and cleaning, taking care of the kids, doing all the homeschooling. And the 2 days off, we literally had 2 days off as a family. So it was one of our best summers on the road. And we got to experience Yellowstone in a way that nobody else gets to experience Yellowstone. We got to see the calves in the spring, and we got to see the fall. We got to see the snow melt and the snow come back. We got to see it in a way that nobody else did. I think that, you just have to think outside the box when it comes to this lifestyle if you're going to make it work long term. With littles, there's a whole nother set of challenges like nap time, or I used to just put them in the car. That was nap time. I'm good. My kids would sleep for 10 hours because we just run till they didn't and then stop. We made time for whatever needed to work at the time. That's why I say littles are easier. I didn't think so then, but I do now. Last question. What's the one thing you wish someone had told you before you hit the road with your family?
That is so hard. The first thing that pops into my mind is that I don't think that I was aware that if I took this leap that I wasn't going to want to stop. So many people ask us now, like, well, when are you going to get a house? Like, the boys are going to be in school soon. And I'm like, so we want to keep going. We want to keep exploring. It has made us closer as a family. It has made our kids more resilient. My 5-year-old loves hiking. He can hike like 7 miles and climb mountains, and they don't even know like where they're from. They're just like, oh, we went to this state and this state. We've been to 38 national parks. It's shown in their personalities as they're growing. That under 5 personality is like so out there, right? Like they're blooming little kids, and you can see like the wonder in their eyes as we explore and what they learn. Going into this, I never knew that I was going to see that wonder and then not want it to stop.
Yep. You love learning alongside your kids.
Yes.
It's contagious, by the way.
Very.
So where can our listeners find you? Are you taking new clients with the digital marketing agency?
Yes. So we are taking on more clients. It is Logan Jack Marketing. And so the website is loganjack.com. There's like a little form there, can be filled out. We do anything from website ads. Our big thing right now is Google Business Profile Optimization, especially for RV parks, making sure that they're visible for people who are looking in local searches and making sure they're getting seen. As RVers, we want these RV parks to be seen. We want them to be full. We want more people to RV. We want more friends.
Yeah.
And then on social media for our channels, it's we are on Instagram and on TikTok, and it's Jack Adventures, so plural, await.
Well, thank you so much. We'll link everything in the show notes. But if you're out there and you're a parent and you're sitting on the fence about being safe in this life, I hope today gave you something to think about. Not a highlight reel, but real family 3 years in, doing hard and beautiful and wonderful and sometimes scary things. Go find Missy at Jack Adventures Await on Instagram and TikTok, and make sure you tell them that Learn to RV sent you. We appreciate you. Thanks, Missy.
Thank you.